Howdy, my totally as always, Tubular Gamers. We're back with another video. It's Mario themed.
Well, today we're going to be talking about the most famous racing series in all of gaming. That's right, we're going to be talking about Mario Kart. Now, Mario Kart doesn't exactly need much of an introduction. It is the best-selling racing game franchise of all time, and it's widely recognizable. You know Mario Kart, I know Mario Kart, we all know Mario Kart, and now that Mario Kart 9, aka Mario Kart World, is finally here, I'm going to be ranking all of the Mario Kart games from worst to best. I'm going to be giving each one of them a little review, stacking them up against each other, taking a look at their overall quality, seeing how they've aged, and determining which ones are worth your time. There's really never been a series of racing games that have been as influential or beloved as Mario Kart, and so with that, everyone's going to have an opinion on these games. But this ranking, these reviews, are based off of my own personal experiences. I've been playing some of these games for over 20 years now. They not only were some of the biggest games of my childhood, but they helped shape me into the gamer that I am today. And so with that, I would love to know how everybody else feels about this series, what your favorite Mario Kart is. Are you enjoying Mario Kart World? What would your list look like? Let me know down below. You'll get a heart from me. As always, please like, share, comment, subscribe. Got the Patreon and the super thanks. Any support is truly greatly appreciated. So without any further ado, let's get to the games. What's the weakest of the Mario Kart series? Yep, that's a no for me, Chief. And so here we have one of the most unique Mario games of them all, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, releasing initially for the Switch in 2020. So what exactly is this game? Well, when you would buy this game, it would come with this toy radio-controlled car, and this toy car would have a camera on it that could actually stream video to your Nintendo Switch. The game would essentially scan your whole house, and then it would start to create Mario Kart tracks wherever it could, and then it would drive around in real life on these tracks, and you could control it with the Nintendo Switch, with the remote controller. And this is actually a really cool idea. This tech is really impressive. It might be like the coolest augmented reality you'll find in a video game. Seriously, it's actually wildly impressive. However, impressive doesn't mean that it's all that great of a video game. Yes, it's incredibly impressive, and you can watch this toy drive around your house and control it in real time while a game is happening around it, but the actual gameplay itself isn't all that exciting. There's only so much game you can have with a setup like this. The tracks are obviously not really anything special. The moment-to-moment gameplay is just kind of there, and even though I don't have a ton of experience with this, I feel like I've already seen everything with this. The game's also not the most accessible, not because it's hard to purchase or hard to find, it's just that you actually need the physical room for this thing to work. If you don't live in a house or a place with a good amount of room, you're just straight up not going to be able to play this game, just due to physical limitations. The last place I lived at was like a 500 square foot apartment. We sure as shit couldn't play this. But anyway, if you've enjoyed this, more power to you. I think the game is cool, but I just can't see myself playing it above really any of the other Mario Karts, especially if I continue to be a pack rat in my own personal life. And so here we have Super Mario Kart, releasing initially for the Super Nintendo in 1992. This really is the game that started it all, at least when it comes to Mario Kart and really kart racers in general. There had been plenty of racing games before Super Mario Kart, but this game's legacy and long-lasting impact is still felt even to this day. And the game still has plenty of great qualities to it. However, if you are ranking or comparing Super Mario Kart to all of the other Mario Kart games, it's gonna be pretty low on the list. But this is also one of those scenarios where I don't think this is a bad game. I think that the series has just gotten better and better as time has progressed. It's a situation where it's good that the weakest mainline Mario Kart is the original. Things can only go up from here. Despite that though, there's still plenty of fun to be had with the original Super Mario Kart. Whether you're by yourself just going through the Grand Prix or you got a friend to join you, there still is some enjoyment to be found with this one, and it's one of the better racing games for the Super Nintendo. I personally would rather play F-Zero, but that's neither here nor there. No matter what you're doing in this game though, you get to choose between 8 different classic Mario Kart characters, and then you're off to the races, or the battle mode if you choose to. While the courses aren't necessarily anything special nowadays, they are still some of the most classic courses of any Mario Kart game to date. And there really is a good number of courses here, even if a bunch of them do feel rather similar to each other. But I guess it was always going to be a challenge to make the donut planes feel different from each other. But something that is different in Super Mario Kart from all the other Mario Kart games is the game's view. As you can see, the screen is clearly sliced in half, with the top half being what's happening in real time that you can actively control, while the bottom really is just the map. And this, I'll be honest, I've never really been a fan of this. I don't like that it splits the screen in half. I think it at times obstructs the view of the top half, you know, what's actually happening. And I very much think they could have just made it a mini-map like literally every other Mario Kart game. But again, it was the first game in the series, and since it was the first game, it's clear they were still figuring out how a bunch of mechanics and ideas would work going forward. For instance, the drifting is really weird in this game. It just doesn't feel nice. It doesn't seem to be faster than turning, or at least not significantly faster, which would make it counterintuitive. I've just never really liked how it felt. I've also never been in love with this game's sense of speed, but again, it is a SNES game. I will cut it a little slack, but I mean, in F-Zero, it felt like you were going fast. Here, yeah, you're just kind of moving along a little track. And speaking of, I think F-Zero overall had better tracks than this game. So many of them feel just way too similar to each other, and some of them just have baffling design decisions. Like, one of the tracks has a dead end. Yeah, what racing game has a dead end in it? Seriously? Another thing that's pretty different about this game is how items work. It's item squares on the ground rather than boxes, and while you'll get a slightly random weapon based off of your position, the AI will not. All of the AI actually have predetermined items going forward, and so you'll see some weird instances where Mario will be in first place and he'll get a star all of a sudden, or Koopa Troopa in last place and just getting shells over and over, and it just leads to some really odd balancing, or really lack thereof. And when it comes to the battle mode, I'll be honest, I've just never really had a lot of fun with this, even with friends. Again, it's a little hard to see thanks to the split screen, especially if the other person is off in the distance, and I just didn't find it all that fun. But I'm sure there'll be an entire myriad of people telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about and that the battle mode slaps in this original game. So I'll just say that there's a few areas of the game that certainly haven't aged very well. The game still plays nice, it looks nice enough, the sprite work is great, the soundtrack's pretty iconic, and the game has just kind of hit legendary status. It's one of the most important games of the entire racing genre, and it really got the entire kart racer craze started to begin with, but there certainly are a lot of other better kart racers you could play in the current year. So for this entry, it's a bit interesting. I don't just have one game or two games, I actually have 3 games, and that's the Mario Kart Arcade GP games. Now, when I was coming up with this list, I debated whether or not I should even have these games on here, but if I'm gonna have live home circuit, yeah, I guess I could bring up the arcade games. And I have them all bunched up for 2 reasons. The first one being is that they're all actually pretty similar to each other, and it feels like small incremental upgrades from game to game, and the other reason is that when I did actually have them all split up, it was just one after the other. So rather than reviewing each one individually, I'm just going to take a quick look over all of them. It is worth mentioning there was also Mario Kart Arcade GP VR, but this one has never left Japan and I've never seen it in the wild. The 3 other Mario Kart Arcade games though, I absolutely have seen them in the wild. I remember as a kid seeing Arcade 1 and 2 at my local Golfland and Dave & Buster's, and I have very fond memories playing those games. And then Mario Kart Arcade GP DX is pretty widely available when it comes to arcades. Pretty much any round 1 is going to have that one, and it's easily the best of the 3 arcade games. It pretty much has everything from the first 2 with some extra stuff. When it comes to the actual moment-to-moment gameplay, while it does have that Mario Kart gameplay to a certain extent, it's a lot more basic and simple than any of the other games. There's not as many racers, there's not as many items, the track layouts are all pretty simple and similar to each other, and really it's all about just racing the person right next to you or going up against some pretty basic AI. At least graphically, all of these games look nice enough, and there's actually a decent amount of fan service and good music here. Pac-Man shows up along with a bunch of other Namco references since these games were actually developed by Namco. So there's your fun little trivia. These games are supposed to have like adaptive difficulties where the game gets harder if you're doing well, but I've never really noticed that. It just feels like the AI catch up to you faster. But yeah, I guess that makes the game more difficult. Something that's always been cool about these arcade games is when you sit down, the game usually takes a picture of you, and when you're racing other people, you'll see that picture, and it's always a funny little time. I will say that Mario Kart races are like the perfect race length for an arcade game. It never goes longer than like 3 or 4 minutes, but you're guaranteed to get at least 2 or 3 minutes of fun, so it's paced well in that sense. There's also some bonus missions that show up, but of course you gotta put in more money if you want to play those. There's a bunch of exclusive items here, like the Dr. Mario virus that will actually blur the screen. This thing's low-key better than Blooper ever was, and these games just offer something pretty different when it comes to Mario Kart. If you're ever in an arcade and you see a cabinet and you maybe got a friend or two with you, it might be worth checking out. Funny enough, you can actually play Arcade GP 1 and 2 on the Dolphin emulator if you are really curious about it, but even with that in mind, I'd have kind of a hard time recommending these games. They're fun in little spurts, and that's about it. I mean, they're arcade games. Their entertainment and lasting appeal was only supposed to go for so long. It's got a pretty limited shelf life, and I think the gameplay, really the games in general, reflect that. Still, I've had some fun in the past with these. And so here we have Mario Kart Super Circuit releasing for the Game Boy Advance in 2001. This was an early GBA title, and it was the first handheld Mario Kart. And even though there were some pretty obvious limitations with it being on the GBA, I still think this game is actually quite a bit of fun, and would say that it's one of the more underrated Mario Kart games overall. Now, when it comes to this game's moment-to-moment gameplay, it's most comparable to Super Mario Kart, but it has a few more of the modern sensibilities you'd expect from a Mario Kart game. You know, like the screen not being split in half, instead it's just a little mini-map on the side. It controls and feels a lot better than Super Mario Kart. It actually handles pretty decently. The drift can feel nice at times. The game can have a little bit of a sense of speed to it at times. Items work exactly how you would expect them to, and the balancing on them is decent enough. The character roster really isn't anything special though. It's pretty much just the same from the prior 2 games. When it comes to this game's courses, there's actually a bunch of original ones here. There's a bunch of unique ones that really have never come back throughout the entire series. There's a bunch here that are just begging for a full HD remake, but even in their 2D incarnations, I think there's plenty of good ones here. This was actually the first Mario Kart to have tracks return from a prior game. Every track from Super Mario Kart is here, and to be completely honest, I think they play way better in Mario Kart Advance than they ever did in Super Mario Kart. Now, when it comes to this game's presentation, I think it looks fine. Obviously, the colors are really washed out since, you know, it was an early GBA title. There wasn't even a backlight, so if you play it on an emulator or a modern device, it's just not going to look all that great, but you gotta understand the time period. And given that, yeah, I think it's perfectly acceptable. There's some good little tunes in here, and it's overall an enjoyable experience. Really, the biggest thing that holds this game back compared to any of the other Mario Karts, unfortunately, is the multiplayer. Since it is a Game Boy Advance game, the multiplayer, yeah, it's pretty compromised here. I've never even been able to play the multiplayer, but even without that, you still have a decent little kart racer that might be worth your time, especially if you're a longtime fan of the series. And it's always cool to see where a bunch of some of the cooler tracks in newer Mario Kart games came from. Like, if you were curious about Ribbon Road, it was this one. It actually really was. But either way, it's a good one. And so here we have Mario Kart 64 releasing for, shockingly, the Nintendo 64 in 1997. So while obviously Super Mario Kart was the first game in the series, it really was Mario Kart 64 where the series just exploded in popularity. And while Super Mario Kart might have laid the foundation, it really was Mario Kart 64 that brought everything together. They connected all of the pieces in a certain way that make Mario Kart what it is today. And like many others, I've got plenty of great memories of this one when I was a kid, staying up way past my bedtime with my friends, going nuts in the battle mode, racing against each other, and pulling our hair out at the AI. There was certainly some good times to be had with this one. Now, since Mario Kart was on that much more powerful 64-bit hardware, they could go a lot crazier with the track design in this game, and this time around everything was rendered in 3D. Outside of the characters, there's still 2D sprites, which I always thought was a little weird, but at least they're decent looking sprites. And speaking of decent looking, yeah, I still think the game looks pretty nice all these years later. It's got a really nostalgic, great aesthetic to it that really takes me back every time I take a good look at it. The music absolutely takes me back as well. There's just some legendary music in Mario Kart 64. So many bangers. But anyway, let's actually talk about the karting of Mario Kart 64. When you're actually playing this game, yeah, it does play pretty similar to really any other Mario Kart. You can either play by yourself or go up to 4 players. There's racing and the battle mode. If you choose racing and you're by yourself, there's the Grand Prix mode, there's the time trial mode, or single race. There's 50cc, 100cc, 150cc. There's even the unlockable mirror mode, which I always thought was a pretty cool little addition. You'll pick a course or a cup, and then you're off to the races. Every single course is 3 laps, and you're just trying to come in first place. Along the way, there'll be a bunch of obstacles and item boxes giving you somewhat random items, depending on the place you're in, and hopefully you finish the race in first, or second, or third, or really anything but last. And while obviously this format for racing in a Mario Kart game sounds pretty standard, it was a pretty substantial upgrade from Super Mario Kart. All of the races just flow significantly better. The game controls much better overall. The drifting feels way nicer. The game actually has a pretty good sense of speed. The item balancing overall makes a lot more sense than the original games, and it's just a lot more fun to race in this game. And then we have the battle mode, where you just pick up as many items as you possibly can in this little arena and try to take everybody out. And yeah, it's a lot more fun than Super Mario Kart. I got some good memories with the battle mode in 64. There really are some legendary arenas here. And speaking of legendary, we have this game's courses. This game has some of the best courses that the Mario Kart series has ever seen. Way too many classics to list off here, but like Zooey Mama out here, there are so many unforgettable courses here, and at this point, every single course from Mario Kart 64 has come back in some fashion in a later Mario Kart game. They're all just that good. Some of them are long, like really long, especially Wario Stadium and Rainbow Road, but they're all still immensely enjoyable. This game in general is just immensely enjoyable. It's one of the best racing games on the N64 for a reason. The multiplayer is a whole lot of fun, and going from 2 to 4 players really was a huge jump, but single player is still fun as well. However, despite all of that, there are a few areas where Mario Kart 64 certainly has aged. While the feel and controls are a lot better than Super, they still just don't feel all that great. The drifting just kind of feels whatever. It can feel kind of clunky, and a lot of the time it's much better to just turn rather than drift. Additionally, while I don't think the item balancing is actually all that bad, this game has some wicked rubber banding AI, especially on 150cc and mirror mode. The AI will just magically catch up to you over and over and over, either being right in front of you or right behind you, and it can get pretty annoying. But these are rather minor issues in the grand scheme of things, and I still think the game is absolutely worth playing to this day. Is it my favorite racer on the N64? No, Diddy Kong Racing is always going to have my heart, but this is still a great one. And so here we have Mario Kart DS releasing for, surprisingly, the DS in 2005. Now, I very much remember when this game came out. It was huge. It was the next big Mario Kart, and it was for this brand new handheld. I remember I wanted a DS as a kid. I didn't get it for a few years, but when I got that DS, man, the first game I got for it, well, it was actually Brain Age, since that was the pack-in title. But the second game I got, oh, you knew it was going to be Mario Kart DS, and I absolutely love this game. I have a ton of nostalgia for it, and I think it's pretty good even nowadays. Since the game's on the DS, you know it's got to use both screens. On the top screen, you got all the gameplay in real time, and on the bottom screen, you got the map. It works a hell of a lot better than it did in Super Mario Kart, and I think it's pretty intuitive. Despite not having an analog stick, I think the game also controls incredibly well. It's got a nice feel to it. The drifting feels nice. Arguably the best it's felt up to that point in the series. In fact, at times it feels too good, with snaking being way too common in this game, but I've always liked the drifting in this one. There's a few new items here, like the blooper and the bullet bill, and these have gone on to be staples in the Mario Kart series, so I guess they did something right. When it comes to this game's overall item balancing and rubber banding, I think it's actually pretty good. The AI weren't magically catching me every other lap, and I was actually able to get some real distance on them. That might be, though, because of the snaking. I've already brought that up. I'll just bring that up here. The snaking in this game was ridiculous. If you don't know snaking, that's basically where you're able to just drift in a straightaway, and it's actually faster to do this than just driving forward. The boost you get from the drift is so powerful that you'll just be drifting left and right on even the shortest straightaways, and it creates some pretty goofy looking gameplay, but it is absolutely the most optimal way to play Mario Kart DS, and it's one of the game's detriments in my opinion. The snaking, it's just too OP. But outside of that, Mario Kart DS has a lot of amazing things going for it. First off, the character roster is pretty good. We got more than just 8 characters here. You can actually unlock 4 other ones, including Rob the Robot. Yep, the classic NES accessory is here to play as. This is when Rob had his little resurgence. He was here, he was in Super Smash Brothers, and it's awesome to see. Something else that's really great is that every character actually has 3 vehicles of their own. So there's actually a lot of variety between these characters and all of their different vehicles. vehicles, and there's some really iconic ones in here. More than just the B-Dasher, I promise you. And speaking of iconic, we have this game's tracks. This game has so many great tracks to it, so many iconic ones that have come back numerous times, and this game also has plenty of tracks returning from prior games as well. I won't lie, not every track is an absolute banger here. Figure 8 Circuit and Yoshi Falls have never been my favorite. I don't like Baby Park in this game, and some tracks really were perfected in later reincarnations, if you get what I'm saying, but for the most part, I think the courses are pretty good. Something that was totally unique to Mario Kart DS and is still unique to Mario Kart DS is the mission mode as well. Yeah, there was this full-length single-player mode that you could play through where there were boss fights. You were actually given objectives other than race or compete in battle mode, and it was sick. I don't know why this hasn't really come back. At least in a mainline Mario Kart, Arcade had special missions, and those were pretty cool too, but in other mainline games, nah. Like, I was hoping in Mario Kart World this would really return, and that game has missions, but nothing like this, and I think it was incredibly memorable, and it's why you should go back and try Mario Kart DS to this day, because this mode was lit. I liked it as a kid, and I really appreciate it now. Something else I can appreciate about this game is, it was the first Mario Kart game to ever go online. I remember connecting to my slow-ass Wi-Fi, sitting down with my little bag of Cheez-Its, and just getting my absolute ass handed to me in Mario Kart DS since everybody was so good at snaking. That's where I really learned about snaking and went, how are these people just going so much faster than me? I learned real quick, but I'm not going to say I ever got good at it. I don't know if I ever came in first place the entire time I ever played this game online, but good memories. Unfortunately, you obviously can't go online nowadays, which certainly hurts it a little bit, but I still think there are plenty of reasons why you should come back to Mario Kart DS in current year. I mean, it created Waluigi Pinball, arguably the best course of any Mario Kart game ever. It's gotta be worth something, right? And so here we have Mario Kart Double Dash releasing for the GameCube in 2003. This is one I got a lot of memories with. I've had just countless hours in this game as a kid and teenager, and some of my very best memories on the GameCube are with this game. And I've actually always thought that this game was a huge step up from Mario Kart 64. First off, everything is in 3D, including the characters, and I just love this game's aesthetic. I love how it looks, I love the models, the environments, it's all great stuff. And maybe it's just nostalgia talking, but I think it looks nice even nowadays. And that soundtrack. There's so much good stuff here. The sound design in general is pretty great in Double Dash, but when it comes to the actual moment-to-moment gameplay, there's a number of changes from all the other Mario Kart games. So it's called Double Dash for a reason. Every kart now has 2 people in it that you can swap between at any time. So with this whole double mechanic, a bunch of characters were quickly introduced to this series. Before this, there had only ever been like 8 characters in a Mario Kart game, but we got way more here, and we got some legendary characters. We got the babies, Bowser Jr., Waluigi, Petey Piranha, King Boo, Daisy, Diddy Kong. Yes, some of the most iconic Mario characters. They finally made it into Mario Kart with this one. And each character not only has their own personalized kart, but they have their own little stats as well. Additionally, all of the characters are divided amongst 3 weight classes, light, medium, and heavy, and one of the best parts of Double Dash is mixing and matching all of these characters. You can have some pretty weird combinations here, and still have some pretty good results, but what does having 2 characters really mean for the gameplay? Well, you'll constantly be switching between them because each character can actually hold an item. This was the game to introduce double item boxes, and you'll constantly be switching between both characters to use up all of your items. Something else that's unique to Double Dash is the special items. Each team, for instance Mario and Luigi or Peach and Daisy, have their own unique item that only they can use, and these vary in effectiveness. Some of these have never come back for a good reason, and some of them are actually really good, like Toad and Toadette get a golden mushroom, or the babies getting a chain chomp, but this really incentivizes you to mix and match the characters to try to get as many unique items as possible, or you just choose Petey Piranha and King Boo who can get all of them. I always thought that was a bit odd, but outside of that, I really like the double mechanic. The entire game really is built around this, and it really gives this game its own unique identity that allows it to stand out all these years later. Here we are 20 plus years later, and it totally feels unique from legit any other Mario Kart. I mean, how many other Mario Kart games let Waluigi team up with Bowser, or even throw the Bowser shells to begin with? I love the Bowser shells. I don't know why they never came back. But you know what has come back? a lot of these tracks. This game has 16 tracks to it, and a majority of them are pretty great stuff. There's a lot of memorable, iconic tracks here that really are some of the best courses to ever exist in Mario Kart history. Yeah, there's a few stinkers in there. I've never really liked the Rainbow Road in this game or Sherbert Land, but those are few and far between. I also really love Mushroom City, which for some reason has never come back all these years later. I don't know why. This course is great, but I hope that changes one day. Something that's pretty good about Double Dash is also the item balancing and rubber banding. Never really had any issues with it. Maybe it's because there's just so many items in this game and things can get pretty crazy with there being, 2 drivers for each car, but I didn't really have any issues with it. Something that I did have a few issues with, especially when I was younger, was this game's drifting. The drifting just feels really weird in this game. It feels ultra slidey, and at times it just doesn't feel all that beneficial to use it rather than just turning. It's kind of the same issue I had with Mario Kart 64. They just really hadn't perfected the drift in Mario Kart yet. I'd actually go a step further and say that I don't love how this game feels overall. It feels like the karts are just constantly on ice, sliding around all over the place. It doesn't feel tight whatsoever. It's probably my biggest issue with the game as a whole. Like, when I was a kid, I didn't mind, I probably didn't even notice, but nowadays I'm just like, oh, I just don't really love how the karts feel. But despite that, I will say that this game has a great sense of speed, better than most Mario Karts. Even though you're sliding all over the place, you feel like you're going really freaking fast, and that feels nice. Something else that I've always enjoyed about this game is the battle mode. I think the battle mode is just so much fun in Mario Kart Double Dash. The Bomb-On mode is so great. I don't know why this doesn't come back like every time. Shine Thief was a lot of fun. Traditional battle mode was good. The arenas are great. This is like arguably the best battle mode of like any Mario Kart. It's still so good. Now, despite everything, I still think Double Dash is absolutely worth trying all these years later. It really is like the most unique Mario Kart, and it has no problem standing out at all. It's also a really fun time. I know that, like every GameCube game it seems, it's gotten pretty pricey these days, but if you can still somehow get some buddies together and hook up the old GameCube and you're not playing Melee, this is another really great one to play, or better yet, it should just come to Nintendo Switch Online. I'm hopeful this one comes sooner than later because it really is worth your time. So here we have Mario Kart 7, the first numbered entry in the franchise, releasing for the 3DS in 2011. Now, throughout the years, it feels like Mario Kart 7 has kind of fallen by the wayside. I mean, it pretty much got demolished by Mario Kart 8, but that doesn't deny this game's quality. I still think all these years later that this is one of the better Mario Kart games overall, and it's got a ton of merit to it. It was the first Mario Kart to be in 3D, ooh, since it was on the 3DS. Well, to be completely honest with you, I've never played this game in 3D. I just don't like the 3D feature on the 3DS, but it's there. But when it comes to actually playing Mario Kart 7, it really was just an extension of Mario Kart Wii, but it would introduce a few little mechanics that would become staples of the franchise going forward. This was the first Mario Kart to introduce the hang glider. When you go off of certain jumps, this thing will come out and you'll stay in the air for quite some time. You can also drive underwater, so there's a bunch of courses that have you underwater for a majority of the time, complete with their own physics. And this adds even more nuances and wrinkles to the Mario Kart formula. They brought back tricks from Wii. The drifting is pretty much the same as Wii, which is actually really nice. I love the drifting in Mario Kart 7. The game actually feels really nice overall, and it even has a pretty good sense of speed. They also really let you customize your kart in this game as well. You get to choose the wheels, the body, and then the hang glider, allowing you to create hundreds, if not dozens, of different combinations. However, with any character being able to choose any of the kart parts, it's certainly that whichever character you choose has less of an impact on the kart's overall stats. Despite that though, this game has maybe the strangest character roster of any Mario Kart game, and low-key one of the worst. There's just some baffling omissions and characters chosen for this roster that have me scratching my head. They have the Queen Bee from Super Mario Galaxy, they have Wiggler, and even Metal Mario, but Diddy Kong and Waluigi are not here. And Waluigi Pinball even comes back as a stage. How do you have the stage but not the man himself? Well, speaking of courses, that's one of the strongest parts of Mario Kart 7, if not like the strongest part. This game has a fantastic course selection. Not only are almost all of the new ones excellent, but when it comes to the retro courses they brought back, oh, there are so many good ones, so many classics from all the prior games. Like, it just feels like they went for all the bangers when it comes to the retro courses, and I think it's still impressive even to this day just how many good courses are in this game. It's legit one of the biggest reasons you would come back to this game. You certainly wouldn't be coming back to this game for the battle mode. I always thought battle in 7 was unfortunately just not very well done, and unfortunately that leads to another complaint, which is that the game doesn't go online anymore. I remember going online with this one. It was a lot of fun. I didn't play it as much as DS Online, but I still found it to be pretty enjoyable, and it always makes me sad that, yeah, you can't play online with this one anymore. Despite that, the game still has plenty of reasons why you would want to come back to it. It still feels nice, it's still a good time, it looks pretty good for a 3DS game, the music is nice, and I'd argue it's one of the best games ever released for the little handheld console. Yeah, it has been completely overshadowed by 8 at this point, but it still is a pretty good racer. But then, oh boy, we got Mario Kart Wii releasing unsurprisingly for the Wii in 2008. Now, I love this game to pieces. I have a whole lot of nostalgia for this game. I actually remember going to Target and picking it up the day it came out and playing it for years and years and years. But even if you take all of that nostalgia and memories away, you still have one of the very best Mario Kart games of them all. It really felt like the next big step for this entire franchise. From the moment you start playing it, you'll notice a bunch of different things from the prior games. There's more than just karts now. They introduced bikes, and bikes are a real beast in Mario Kart Wii. They can wheelie on straightaways, which gives them a nice boost. They can really hug turns, and they're just really fun to use overall. Yeah, throughout the years, plenty of people have realized that bikes are just way too OP in Mario Kart Wii, but man, it was always so much fun to be in the bikes. There were still plenty of good karts as well. They had much better drifting, and you would get better boosts in the karts. It doesn't really matter what kind of vehicle you're on though, this game has a great sense of speed. It feels like you're going fast, all of the karts and bikes handle and feel really nice, and the game just has phenomenal controls all around. It also has a bunch of different control types. I remember playing with the Wii Remote sideways, but you can play with a GameCube controller, and dare I say it, the motion controls were actually well done in this game. This game also introduced tricks to the series. You go off a jump, do a trick, and get a boost, and this really is like a little bit of a game changer. It really changes the flow of every race, and it's just so much fun to do these. And it would also change how tracks were laid out going forward. It also affected the retro tracks coming in, since you obviously couldn't do tricks before. Let's talk about the courses. Mario Kart Wii might have the best courses of like the entire franchise. There is just way too many good ones to mention here. Coconut Mall, DK Summit, Toad's Factory, Wario's Gold Mine. Like, the courses in Mario Kart Wii are pretty much unbeatable. But it wasn't just the new courses that were excellent as well. Of course, there are plenty of amazing new ones, but there's actually a pretty good selection of retro courses in here also. And it's more fun than ever before to return to some of these now that you can do tricks. The game feels a lot better. There's bikes. Like, it's a lot of fun returning to these, and the game just overall has a very nice selection of tracks to it. It also has a nice selection of arenas as well. The battle mode is real fun in Mario Kart Wii. I don't know if it's the strongest in the series, but it's a pretty good time. The racing, the battle mode, it all feels great, it looks nice, it plays nice, and it's still a great time to this day. It did introduce a few new items like the POW block, and these aren't really game changers, but it's cool that they're here. When it comes to this game's rubber banding and the AI in general, I will actually say that this is one of the worst in the series. I remember as a kid just getting super frustrated with it, and I look back now and I'm like, yeah, it's really rubber bandy on 150cc and especially the mirror mode. They just magically catch up to you all the damn time. It's to the point where I would say that this is actually one of the most challenging Wii games of them all, and I'm smiling and giggling over here when I say that, but that also just goes to show that there wasn't really any difficult games on the Wii. But changing gears here for a second, we have the character and vehicle roster here, and I think it's excellent. I think the character roster in Mario Kart Wii is really well done. They got all of the mainstays, but then there's a bunch of deep cuts in there like Funky Kong. And then when it comes to the vehicle selection, I also think it's very strong. It's all dependent on your character's weight, so you can't have, say, Bowser in the tiny little Bullet Bill bike, but I think it's a pretty good selection of vehicles overall, and it's all fun to use, even if the Bowser bike is clearly the definitive best vehicle to use. And I remember it's what everybody used when it came to the time trials. Yep, time trials return here, and it's been in really every Mario Kart game, but Mario Kart Wii was the game where I got super into the time trials. I really wanted to try to have my times online for everybody to see, but I quickly realized that it was full of hackers and people using exploits, and that unfortunately wasn't going to happen. It didn't stop me from playing online though. I played so much online Mario Kart Wii, maybe more than any other Mario Kart. Like, I played a good amount of DS online, I played some of 7 online, I've obviously played a lot of 8 Deluxe online, but Mario Kart Wii, I played this thing for years. There was a time where I was playing it online every single day. It has, in my opinion, the best online of any Wii game, period. It was intuitive, it was easy to queue, it wasn't laggy, and it was just such a good time. I love the online to Mario Kart Wii. Makes me all the sadder that it doesn't go online in an official capacity anymore. But it doesn't have to have a sad ending. Throughout the years, fans have really taken to Mario Kart Wii, and it's really become the Super Smash Bros. Melee of the Mario Kart series, if you know what I mean. Like, people love this game to pieces like I do, to the point where they're doing everything they can to preserve it. They've preserved the online, and there's actually a bunch of mods and crazy add-ons for Mario Kart Wii, more than any other Mario Kart game. Normally I don't even bring that stuff up, but with Mario Kart Wii, it's pretty hard not to because it really extended this game's longevity. But other than that, it looks great. I always thought it looked impressive for the Wii. It sounds great. It's still a lot of fun, and in my opinion, it's easily the best racing game ever released for the Wii, if not the best title released for the Wii. It gets all the thumbs up in the world from me. And then here we have it, Mario Kart World, the latest in the Mario Kart franchise, the first Switch 2 game, and the first big budget AAA $80 game. And so how is it? Well, I think it's pretty great. Do I think it's the very best Mario Kart ever? No, but I absolutely think that it is one of the best Mario Kart games of them all though, and it certainly does have potential. So let's just get right into it. The biggest difference about Mario Kart World from all of the other Mario Karts is the big open world. The entire game is structured around this big open world. All of the courses are actually realistically placed out on this open world. You can race through this entire open world seamlessly. You can go and freely explore it. Really everything is about this world. And so how is the open world in Mario Kart World? Well, it's got some ups and downs. Let me explain. I think the overall open world design is actually really cool. There's not a lot of racing games that even attempt this, especially outside of the Forza series, and it certainly does offer something very different from that. I like how seamless everything is. I like how all of the courses really are connected to each other. It does feel like a living, breathing world here, and I think there are plenty of instances where everything is actually well connected. However, if you're just freely exploring the open world by itself, yeah, it does feel a little lifeless at times and it feels a little empty. There are some little missions that show up here and there, but these are pretty basic. They're even more basic than what was in Mario Kart DS, and there's no way to really track what you've done in this open world either. There's also some little collectibles in there, Easter eggs and secrets, and while I think that is cool, it leaves a bit to be desired, I won't lie to you all. The open world also does create this, shall I say, issue where you have to go from track to track. I mean, it is all interconnected and you gotta, go to the next course. They're not all right next to each other, but what this amounts to is you basically driving forward in a straight line to then get to the next course that you actually want to drive on. And sometimes this is fine. In certain game modes, I think it's perfectly acceptable, but there are other times where I'm just like, I really want to race on the finely tuned, handcrafted tracks rather than Toad's Turnpike, essentially, over and over and over, where it's just a straight line and there's a bunch of cars and we're just trying to go from point A to B. Like, don't get it twisted, it still is fun to race on all these, I guess I'll just call them segues or transitional areas, but it's not as fun as the main tracks. There's clearly a difference in quality when it comes to the main tracks in these more transitional areas. And so yeah, while the open world has a lot of good things to it, it also has a few things that I don't exactly care for. This totally could be improved on though if they made the open world just feel a little less lifeless, let you actually track what you've done in it, and maybe give you the option to turn off these transitional areas so you can just get to the next course immediately. But enough about the open world, let's talk about the actual moment-to-moment gameplay. It feels fantastic. It feels the best of any Mario Kart, hands down. Like, it feels absolutely phenomenal. It doesn't matter which kart or bike you're on, it doesn't matter which character you are, it just feels really nice. The game has a great sense of speed, the controls and the handling are excellent. It's easy to pick up and play, but there's a lot of depth when it comes to this game's movement and strategies, actually, like a surprising amount. And the more that the game has been out, the more people are realizing just how deep the rabbit hole goes. You can now do more than one trick in the air, which is cool, but it doesn't really mean anything. But the biggest change overall to the movement and the game in general, it feels like, is that you can jump from any point if you just hold down the drift button. While going straight, you'll jump into the air and you can do a trick, but this leads to a whole lot of other movement options. You can actually grind on rails thanks to this, and you can even drive up walls. And at first, this might not seem all that substantial. How useful really is that? Oh, it can actually get pretty crazy. Grinding on the rails is not only incredibly fun, but it's actually got a lot of skill behind it as well. It's really easy to be bumped off. You don't just automatically magnetize to it like you would in, say, Sonic Riders, and it isn't always an immediate shortcut. but it sure is fun as hell to grind in this game. And then driving up the walls, yeah, this is even harder to master. This requires a lot of practice, and you can get some really crazy shortcuts if you know what you're doing. But on top of all of this, the drifting and the boosting just feels so unbelievably good in this game. It might be the nicest feeling kart racer like ever made. I'm not trying to totally gas this game up or glaze it that much, but the controls and handling, I got nothing but good things to say about it. The next big change for Mario Kart World from legit any other Mario Kart game is that it now goes up to 24 racers. Yep, there are 24 people in these races, and it gets as crazy as you could imagine. Like, it really gets chaotic in this game. Speaking of, pretty much all of the items returned from 8 Deluxe. There's even a few in there from Tour and a few new ones thrown in. But overall, I would say that this is a great selection of items, maybe the best that the series has ever seen, and it actually seems somewhat balanced here. Some items that were previously stupid freaking good aren't as good as they were before, and other items that didn't feel all that useful or helpful are actually pretty good now, like the Mega Mushroom and the Boomerang. Obviously, there's always going to be a certain level of BS and randomness. I mean, it is Mario Kart at the end of the day, but I actually think the items are very well done, and when it comes to the AI and rubber banding, I don't really got any issues here. It seems all good to me. Rubber banding in multiplayer though, well, that's a different story altogether. But does any of this really matter if the courses you're racing on aren't a ton of fun? Thankfully, the courses are excellent in Mario Kart World. There are so many good courses in this game. There's a lot of really cool new ones that actually take advantage of all this new movement, but the game has tons of returning courses, and some of these are drastically different from what they were in the past. They're almost unrecognizable at times, and thanks to all the new movement and crazy tricks and just how fast you're going, they feel completely different from their prior versions. Like, they feel like brand new tracks. I so far think all of the tracks are pretty excellent in this game for the most part. There's a few in there that I don't really care for, like Desert Hills, but for every stinker, we got like 6 good ones. I mean, Wario Stadium finally came back from the N64, and it's glorious. It's arguably the best course in the entire game, and the new Rainbow Road, oh, it goes crazy. And even with this awesome course selection, I have no doubt that they're going to be adding more and more. I guess just expanding the open world even further. But anyway, what modes do we got here? We got the usual Grand Prix mode, there's time trial, and there's even a battle mode. Unfortunately, the battle mode just kinda sucks in this game. It's kinda like how 8 was on the Wii U, not 8 Deluxe on Switch, 8 on Wii U, where you just kinda go on the tracks and all duke it out, and I don't really like this. In my opinion, they should just bring back some of the battle arenas from years past and put in 24 players. It'll be total carnage and madness, and I think that would be way more enjoyable than whatever they got here. But there's also this new mode known as Knockout, where it's essentially a battle royale where the amount of players racing is slowly shrinking. You need to make it to the finish line in a certain place to continue the race, otherwise you get eliminated. And this, well, this is just phenomenal. I won't lie, this is like the best part of Mario Kart World. This is an excellent addition, and I've had the most fun with this. Like, it is just a mad dash the entire time. I've already put countless hours into this mode because of how enjoyable it is. Yeah, it's an absolute frenzy. Yeah, it's total carnage. Yeah, sometimes you'll go from first place to nearly last place in less than 5 seconds, but the inverse can happen with that as well. And while at times it does feel very, and I mean very random, there's always going to be a little bit of skill here, and I have quite enjoyed this mode, and I think this mode is really where the open world excels, where it's okay that it's all interconnected and you go through a bunch of straight lines because it's just such a mad dash and it's such a frenzy that I think it works here. And then we have the online multiplayer. The online multiplayer, I got good and bad things to say about it. For the most part, the connection and all of that seems to be fine enough, and racing online is quite fun. The Battle Royale, the Knockout mode, is really crazy. It is quite enjoyable. Unfortunately, my issues show up when you want to play with friends. Playing with friends is just not all that intuitive here, and it's even less intuitive than it was in Mario Kart Wii. You can't queue with your friends in a race. You have to join a race, hope that it's not a full lobby, and then your friend can join you. Why you have to do this, I don't know why. Why can't I just queue with them? You also can't do Knockout Tour with your friends. This frankly just seems ridiculous, and I hope this gets changed at some point. I think the multiplayer should be not completely overhauled, but queuing and playing with your friends needs to be changed here. At least private game always works, even if the AI aren't messing around in that. Like, they'll kick your ass. Speaking of not messing around, we have the cow. We have the character roster. The character roster in Mario Kart World is phenomenal. Even though a bunch of characters I love are missing like Diddy and Funky Kong, we have so many good newcomers here. Goomba, Pinta, Cataquack, Cow, all of the enemies showing up is just lovely. How you unlock them is stupid as hell, but I love how many different enemies there are to play as, and I love the different costumes here. When it comes to the vehicle selection, I think it's pretty good here. I don't love that there's not really any customization to the vehicles, unfortunately, but it still is a good roster overall. I also think the game looks phenomenal. This is like the best looking Nintendo game of them all. The vibrant colors, all of the really stunning environments, the excellent textures, the lighting is really great, the animations are solid, the character models look great. It's just a good looking game, and it ran incredibly well also. Sure, it's not gonna blow you away with its graphical fidelity, but it has a really great art style to it. I also want to give a major shout out to the music. The music is really good stuff here. There's not only a bunch of awesome new music, but there's so many incredible remixes of past Mario Kart tracks, menu themes, and just music in general. I love it. Chef's kiss out here. So overall, I think Mario Kart World is an excellent game. It has so many things to love about it. It feels really nice. It plays really nice. I think the open world, for the most part, is pretty well designed. And yeah, it can be total chaos during some of these races, but the enjoyment factor is so high here. Like, it is just such a good time. And I'm sure this is going to be the Mario Kart that everybody's going to be playing for years to come. I am hopeful that there's going to be lots of updates for this game going forward, not only tweaking the multiplayer a little bit, but adding some more characters, tracks, etc. And I'm all here for it. I think with updates, this could easily genuinely be like the best Mario Kart game of them all. Is it worth $80? Well, that's going to be up to the customer to decide. I don't really think any game's worth $80, but here we are anyway. At least the game is a whole lot of fun. And then here we have it, Mario Kart 8, specifically the deluxe edition on Switch with all of the DLC. This really is like the GOAT of not only Mario Kart, but just kart racers in general. Now, I got Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U back in 2014 when it released, and I thought it was excellent then. I thought it was a whole lot of fun and there was a lot of good stuff to it, but when they brought it to the Switch as the deluxe edition and brought all of the DLC at the time over, that was really when this game just exploded into popularity, and I've put way more time into the Switch version now than I ever did with that Wii U version. And then there was the Booster Course Pass, which adds even more to this game to the point that, yeah, it's kind of like the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate of Mario Kart. After 10 years of updates, basically, it shouldn't really come as a surprise that this is the best of the entire series. It's got the most content, it's got the most going for it, and it really is just kind of goated at this point. When it comes to playing Mario Kart 8, it's phenomenal. This is really the golden standard for all kart racers at this point. This game feels nice, it has an excellent sense of speed, the drifting is phenomenal, and then they brought back from 7 the hang glider and driving underwater. Not even World has that, you just drive on the water, but this game introduces anti-gravity where you start to go upside down and shit. World doesn't have anything like that since it's a big open world, so it's unique to just Mario Kart 8, and I've always thought the anti-gravity stuff was pretty cool. I just like how many different little transitions the vehicles can go through. Speaking of vehicles, there are so many to choose from in this game. Like 7, you get to customize the wheels, the body, and the hang glider, and this in combination with your character means that there's just hundreds, thousands of combinations, dozens even. I know, it's crazy. And then speaking of the character roster, it's the best of any Mario Kart, hands down. I'd be shocked if any Mario Kart can like ever top this. It has all of the fan favorites, it's got tons of deep cuts, it's got stupid characters like Pink Gold Peach, but it's got characters I never thought I would see come back to Mario Kart like Petey Piranha and Funky Kong. It's even got Animal Crossing, Splatoon, and Zelda in there also. Like, genuinely, how it could ever get better than this, I'm not entirely sure, but the character roster, the vehicle selection, and course selection really are just out of this world. Speaking of, we have the tracks in this game, the courses, yeah, they just go crazy in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with all of the DLC. There is a stupid amount of courses in this game. Not only is there tons of new ones that are some of the best the series has ever seen, but so many return from the prior games. All of the prior games, even Tour, and a ton of the fan favorites return here as well. Not all of them, but a lot of them return here to create what is easily the best selection of courses of any Mario Kart game. Like, Mario Kart World's got some good shit. Mario Kart 7's got a really excellent roster as well, but how do you touch Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with all the DLC? You just don't. It just kind of steamrolls everything else. Like, it's not even close. Even without all of the extra DLC, it still does have a really great course selection. When it comes to the modes, you know, you got your Grand Prix, your time trials, and your battle modes. The battle mode was initially pretty ass in Mario Kart Wii. On the Wii U, I remember thinking battle mode sucked, but on the Switch, they fixed it, they made it a lot more enjoyable, put you in small little arenas, they even brought back some of the older modes. I think this is pretty good. One of the best ever? Maybe, but at least battle mode is good. And then we have the multiplayer, like the multiplayer of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. What do you even have left to say about it? It's just phenomenal. It's so great. Queuing is really simple. There's so many different courses to race on. Like, you could just play this game for years and years and years, and people absolutely have, because of how great it feels, how nice it plays, and how stellar the presentation is. This was a great looking game on the Wii U. It looks pretty good on the Switch as well. Sure, some of those DLC courses don't look all that great, but for the most part, the environments, the textures, the characters, the lighting, the frame rate, it's all phenomenal stuff here. I know this is a weird transition, but I also think the items and the balancing is a bit better in this game than really most Mario Kart games. Instead of it being entirely placed on which place you're in, for instance, if you're in like 3rd or 4th or 5th, it's now dependent on how far away you are from 1st place. And I think that this creates a bit more balance with the items. Maybe that's a hot take, but I really think that this might be the approach to take going forward. I'm pretty sure Mario Kart World does the same thing. This game also brought double item boxes back. This is a great move in my opinion, and it makes me even the slightest bit hopeful that eventually, at some point, maybe we can have 2 racers in the car again. That would be pretty cool. Okay, that's just a pipe dream. Why'd I even bring that up? But you know what's not a pipe dream, fever dream, wet dream, any kind of dream is the soundtrack. It's really great stuff here. It's not the S tier that Mario Kart World is, but I still really enjoy the music to this one. I just love Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. What can I say? It's probably the coldest take imaginable. It really is as cold as it gets to say this is the best Mario Kart. Even after World's release, I mean, yeah, this game's got 10 years of updates. This game has essentially been perfected. I don't know if the Mario Kart formula is ever going to get better than this. When they announced Mario Kart World and that there was going to be another one, I was like, how do you improve on 8? How do you improve on what is essentially perfection? Well, they tried something different, which is really the only option they have, because 8, well, it just doesn't really get any better than this. It's arguably the best kart racer of them all, and maybe the best racing game like ever made. At this point, I guess I'm just going full glazing mode, but I mean, if there was a racing game to go full glaze on, you know it would be Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Is there always going to be a little bit of bullshit and randomness with the items? Sure, absolutely, but that's also kind of part of the charm. Anybody can pick up Mario Kart 8 and have some fun with it. They can be successful as well. It isn't just super skill heavy, but the ceiling is absolutely there, and if you are good enough, you'll be able to win, even with all the crazy item nonsense going on. But anyway, at this point, I feel like I'm just rambling. You know how good Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is. If you made it to this part of the video, you've probably been playing this game for years and years, and you're happy that there's a new one out at least. I love this game, I'll always love this game, and it would be pretty hard to ever top 8 Deluxe, but you know, I got hope for World, maybe it can at some point. Either way, at least we got this really awesome game. So that's it for today's video. That is enough talking for me. I've been going on and on. This video is like an hour long, but hey, I love Mario Kart. I love all of these games, except maybe Super Mario Kart. Anyway, if you made it to this part of the video, you're a real one. That means you watched the whole video, so you can comment our secret code word. We're going with a classic here. We're going with Wendy's Spicy Nuggets. Ooh, yeah, you comment that, you'll get a heart from me, a little... You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate it though. If you made it to this part, please like, share, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate it. I hope you all enjoyed the ranking. It's going to be the definitive Mario Kart ranking for a while, unless World be getting a lot of updates. We'll just have to wait and see. Have you been enjoying the game? Let me know down below. And I need to end this video. I'm still a little sick. Stay safe, y'all. Bye-bye.